have any effect on the virus. So the only drug that is available, if it's going to work, is going to be the Tamiflu.
Doctor, concerning the question of the lady, if one child is sick and the rest of the siblings, they have to stay home.
Right. I think the same thing, sorry, I failed to answer this specifically. Again, this is like the issue of if my child is sick, can I go to work? There is a 22% chance that if your child is sick, your other child will get sick. But there is, 7 to 8% that he might not get sick. So therefore, to have this widespread approach, I'm not sure about that, I think if the parents take the necessary measures in terms of, separating this child from his siblings, etc., I don't think it would be necessary to keep the siblings out of school if they have absolutely no symptoms.
Can you pass the disease even if the virus is in an incubation phase?
Yes.
So if shutting the school for 30 cases of fully manifested H1N1 cases, you might as well have an counterpart 100 or 200 cases which are incubated and which you do not see. Right. So even if the children come back to school, you might have like hundreds of incubated cases and you don't know it because they are not
So, like I said, the incubation period is around 4 days, but it can be about 7 days. Now, during the incubation period, let's take the worst case scenario, 7 cases. The virus is replicating, but it's not in such a high volume until around 1 day before the manifestation. So if you recall the slide where I said you can transmit the virus from 1 day before until, during and after. But so during the 7 day of incubation period, you're not going to transmit the virus for 7 days because the virus is still replicating, etc. And like I said, you do spread it by the droplets. So 1 day before the symptoms, the virus might be high enough concentration in terms of when you're talking, the amount of virus spread is high enough you can be contagious. But it's only usually 1 day before the symptoms and then during, but not for the entire 7 days of the incubation.
The doctor.
Yeah, thank you very much. You answered a lot of questions that I had on my mind. But one thing about the decision of IC to close the school, which made me feel good, whether it's a solution or not, was that they followed a protocol that had been placed a priori. And this is something that makes us feel very good, that there is a protocol. What do we do in case of? And the cases happen, and they followed a protocol. And I feel very safe with that, especially in case of an epidemic. Now, what we don't know is what are your predictions for this epidemic? And accordingly, what new protocols to establish if this was not a solution?
Right.
Then what else? There needs to be a protocol that's established.
Right. If I go back to what the Ministry of Education, actually what happened in Lebanon is the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education put somehow a sketch of a plan that for schools, if there are that many within the classroom, you close that classroom, that many. But then when IC closed the school, they criticized them, even though they were the ones who had proposed such a plan. But I think...
Which we never got, by the way.
Which,
never saw.
So I think just to be fair, I think what IC did was in parallel with what the Ministry of Education and Health of Lebanon had initially planned to generalize to all schools. We never saw a printed report of that. But my personal explanation is that those, Ministry of Health and Public and Education, they had planned this thinking that the virus is going to be so virulent, etc. And then as the month of, September, October came, they realized, because even the Ministry of Health tone has completely, has become much more mild, from testing everyone to test only the high risk, to treating everyone, to treating only the high. So it's a learning curve. I think, it's only human to make decisions that might not be the best, none of us have dealt with a pandemic such as this before. 1918, there was nothing available. There were no internet, no computer, nothing. Here now, the communication system is so advanced, and sometimes a lot of the decisions are driven by fear and panic, and maybe not by scientific basis. But I fully understand why IC took that decision, especially that this was the plan for the entire schools. And then somehow it changed in the middle without us knowing about it. I think what should we do in the future, it's really hard to predict. We have to keep a very close watching. I think schools should have advisors who are experts in the field, and not just rely on, I think IC is very well surrounded by doctors. Many of the parents are doctors, close association with ABB, but you can imagine, a school in Akkar or in Beqa, where, so these schools, I think every school should have a medical advisor who is expert in the field, and to be able to analyze what's going on and make educated decisions. That's the most we could do. I don't have anything to propose in terms of school closing, because I think we're just learning about what's happening.
And I just want to check that the main symptom for the N1H1 is the high fever, or it can be a mild fever.
We already covered the symptoms. I said fever occurs in 98% of the patients. The majority will have fever, headaches, dry cough, chills, tiredness. But half will have vomiting and diarrhea. Around half will have joint pain. Usually sudden onset and high-grade fever. If you have someone who has had, for 3 days temperature 37, by then 37.8, and with influenza usually it's like a very rapid new onset of high-grade fever. Last question.
My question is also related to high-risk patients. If you have the symptoms and you take them to ED and they get checked and they tell you they are A positive, and then you have to do the test at the block at the Halili hospital, which, as I understood, I don't know if I'm correct me, it takes 4 times for the results to come out. When do you give the Tamiflu? You start it straight on, or do you take it before?
I already covered that. If you make the decision that you need to start treatment, it should be made immediately, because your window of opportunity to make an impact on the virus is the first 48 hours. If you wait beyond 48 hours, the medication will have zero effect.
One last question, please, doctor. That using alcohol liquid for young children after washing well their hands reduce immunity?
No. One thing I'd like to caution you, don't use soap and water and then alcohol-based solution, because it really dries the hands significantly.
My son was...
Right, so use one or the other.
Maybe we should tell the school not to put liquid gel after they wash their hands.
Okay, liquid gel, Anna, in my opinion, should not be placed in the bathroom, because when you go to the bathroom, you need to wash with soap and water. So what I would advise is to remove the alcohol-based solution from the bathroom, but put them everywhere else when they're out. Okay, thank you.